The Southern 500 is underway. That outside line prevailing for Chase Elliott as he will take the lead on lap 1.
Denny Hamlin, that outside lane is just rolling right around him. It's going to go fall all the way back to 4th. We'll have to watch that all night long. See if that outside lane continues to be that big of an advantage.
Matt Benedetto riding along the Wood Brothers number 21. They're sitting on 99 career wins, looking for their 100th win for the organization. Matt talked about the emotions of making the playoffs. He and his wife Taylor always looking at the points. For the most part, it was Taylor that was fretting over the points. Matt was trying to do his best just to do his best on the racetrack.
Look at that sun, guys. That sun is going to be a problem for just a little bit. This racetrack tears those windshields up, makes it even more difficult to see as that sun is shining in your window.
Yeah, it's blind going into turn 3. A lot of guys like to run up against that wall, driving up into the corner. And as that sun's in your eyes, you really can't do that. You can't enter that corner the way you want. Can't wait till it goes down behind the grandstands. There you see it. Really can't understand exactly how deep you can get into the corner. Right here, get a little bit of an idea of where the fence is. We'll see these guys as the sun goes down get a little closer to that wall as they get more comfortable. Ryan Blaney working his way from the back of the field. And this Paul Menard ARCA throwback. One of our biggest movers, plus 10 since the start of the race.
Ryan Blaney wasn't the only playoff car at the back of the field. The 3 of Austin Dillon also had issues before the race when had to start at the tail. You see him right there in that bright white with the red lettering. A throwback look for the 3 of Dillon all the way back to Junior Johnson's days. I love the car. It's got that old school look.
Yeah, that 1963 Holly Farms Poultry Chevrolet that Junior Johnson drove before he was an owner.
You see there on the inside of the 37 in 3 and 4, but the momentum down the straightaway, not able to make the pass. It's hard to make that bottom work in turn 3 and 4 with this package. You come off the corner really under power. You got on the top.
Darlington's always been known to be hard on tires. Steve, has that changed? Is the tire a little bit harder here, or is it still going to tear away at this rubber?
It tears away every lap. A tremendous amount of grip loss, a tremendous amount of speed loss. We'll see the lap times fall off. These drivers know this first run will be the lap 25 for a competition yellow, unless we get a yellow before for an accident. So this is something that hasn't changed. Jeff, you were so good here. It's not just about pace at Darlington. You have to manage that tire fall off.
Yeah, you do, Steve. I was there yesterday, and it's really interesting that this tire, it seems like a lot of drivers yesterday, and I think we'll hear the same thing today, is that, you know, in the past you would take off and not abuse your tires, right? Not ride, but not go 100%, go 92%. So 10 laps into the run, your tires were better. But that doesn't seem to help this tire. It seems like with this tire, you can go ahead and be aggressive, and it doesn't hurt it early in the run. It'll be interesting to see if the Cup cars and the drivers have the same comments that we heard from the Xfinity drivers yesterday.
Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin both led laps while Chase Elliott was on pit road. And then coming back up after everyone had cycled through on their green flag pit stops. Chase Elliott's throwback is also to Jimmie Johnson. A lot of throwback paint schemes to Jimmie Johnson. And this is final year. That was back when 2009, his 4th Cup title. It's Jimmie Johnson's 4th Cup title. Now 7 in the bank for Jimmie Johnson.
I think if Truex is going to be able to get an opportunity to make a pass here, he's going to have to run a different line than a 9 car, especially in turn 3 and 4. You can't follow that car through the same line with this spoiler on the back, because they lose so much air downforce on the nose. Now, there you go. He runs a different line than the 9 car. Look how much he gains through 3 and 4. Way more speed. Chase tried a different line. It did not work out. I bet you goes back to the bottom in 3 and 4 next time by.
Chase ran that upper lane, and it helped Truex's car, and it hurt Chase's car. This right here is a tough spot to catch somebody as well. That 77 car.
My goodness, look how low Truex was.
Look at that. Truex had no choice but to lift right there.
Yeah, it really hurt his chances off that turn.
It's so narrow off of turn 2. It's so narrow. It's just amazing how much room you have to give yourself to keep from hitting the wall. Marty, what do you have on Chase?
I was going to say, Jeff, this is what makes Darlington so much fun. The different ends of the racetrack. We've talked about it. Down here in 1 and 2, that's where Chase Elliott and his team feel like they have a bit of an advantage over the 19. But in 3 and 4, we saw it a moment ago, the 19 just eats up Chase Elliott. So that's what makes this racetrack so much fun to watch. Drivers having an advantage on one end of the track versus the other.
Chase back to the bottom in 3 and 4. Both cars running that same line. I think Truex will have to find speed on the high side to be able to make a pass.
It's hard to do that on new tires, though. On new tires, when they have a lot of grip, just kind of go the shortest way around the racetrack in 1 and 2. As the tires get older, then you can start opening up your entry, opening up your middle, just run higher. Just hard to do on new tires.
That's one of the things, right? The balance is, how does your car drive on new tires versus old tires? All the cars we're listening to keep saying, oh, our cars are way better. Junior cars are way better. I think it's just the new tires mask some of the handling issues.
Well, there you see Truex trying, caution's out.
Big break for Austin Dillon. Remember, he came to pit road early, and the benefit of those new tires, he's all the way up in the 11th position. He was running well outside the top 15 when he came to pit road. Big break for the 3 car.
Another break for Matt DiBenedetto, one of our playoff contenders who back in 27th place was just about to go a lap down.
But a bad break for the 2, right? I believe Brad Keselowski got into the fence. So, Jeff, you mentioned that earlier. Hearing these tires, these hot tires, pick up that debris on the track.
Oh, man.
Look at the damage to the right side of Brad Keselowski.
I need to come this time.
So at this point, you hope, if you're the crew chief, it is purely cosmetic. It's not awful, right? You can fix that right front fender. What I can't tell from this angle is, has it bent the right front suspension? Will it add camber? We saw in yesterday's Xfinity Series race, Justin Allgaier had a suspension issue. He kept tearing tires up. So Jeremy Bullins is going to have to really take his time here and manage this situation. 33 laps to the end of the stage. So you got this opportunity. You have the stage end to work on it. But the first thing you have to understand is what you're working on. How much damage.
Steering is okay.
All right, steering is okay. That's Brad saying, hey, that tape we see, it's still pointed straight up. Let's see what happens. Blaney's on the outside of him.
Little contact right there with the 10 off of turn 2.
Does that cut the right front tire, maybe?
And here he is.
Yeah, that's what happened. I'm sure that's what happened. Just cut that right front.
Ready back into the restart zone. It's Kurt Busch, Bubba Wallace to the back. And so Kurt Busch, Martin Truex Jr. fighting it out up front. Bubba Wallace right there on the outside of lane 2.
Those tires hanging in pretty well.
Way better than I expected, Jeff.
That's something we've seen with this tire. It falls off, but it doesn't fall off like we've seen in the past. Don't get me wrong, I think they're going to end up running that 1 car down, but they took off much better than I think even the crew chief assumed they would.
One of the later cars on pit road under green, so Kurt Busch only has 7 laps. I actually thought he had more in his tires, so great work by the 1 car, get a little track position and save a set.
Yeah, I think with this package, the guys are pretty much wide open through 1 and 2 on restart, so it looks pretty good there. But you're right, that 1 car's hanging in there. Bubba Wallace working as hard as he can. That's the trick, man. This will work out for those guys, and they'll save a set of tires as long as they don't get lapped. So they're running hard right now. They're going to let this fuel go by, but don't lift. Right? Don't give up. Don't lift off the gas on the straightaway and let 2 or 3 of them go by and give them the the corner, because you will get lapped in 29 laps doing that.
fighting for every position. You see the sun still so difficult for these drivers to dive into turn 3.
You just got to believe there's turn 3 down there.
You pick a point is what you do. You try to find something you can see, whether it's on the left, try to find the white line at the bottom of the racetrack, or you find something on the wall. That's all you can do. Is there's always something that you can use as a visual reference.
You see the difference now is Bubba falls further and further back through the field in dirtier and dirtier air. Those used tires feel worse and worse and worse, and he's having to lift so early as these guys are going to put him 3 wide here.
18 on the outside. Kevin Harvick in the 4 on the inside went by him.
And so it's important that, like you said, Steve, for the crew chief to come to Bubba now and say, hey, hang in there, hang in there. I know this isn't fun. Just hang in there, 25 more laps. Just keep it out of the fence. Don't make any mistakes.
That's it. You have some empathy. Know that you have put him behind, right? He just doesn't have the weapon to keep up right here. He is purely just doing his best, and his best is, as you mentioned, Dale Jr., lead lap. That would be your best.
2020, and the reigning Cup Series champion has not won a race all the way up to the start of the playoffs.
That would be a firework that if it was lit, I would be concerned if I was the other competitors. I know he's way behind on points and it will be a long grind, but I still believe, you know, the 2-time champ is dangerous. I know he hasn't got the wins, but he's still a very dangerous driver, very dangerous team. I would hate to see him get a little momentum at this point in the season.
And with more on him, Marty.
Well, Adam Stevens agrees with you guys. He said, hey, if we ever can get over the hump eventually and get back to victory lane, I think this team can show its potential. And I'll remind you guys of what happened in 2011 with Tony Stewart when he made the playoffs. He went into the playoffs saying, hey, we're going to waste a spot in the playoffs. We shouldn't even be in the playoffs. He won 5 of the 10 races and then won the championship in a tiebreaker with Carl Edwards. So, yes, if Kyle Busch can get to victory lane and they feel good about this round, Dave, the floodgates could open.
Marty, Jimmie Johnson, a non-playoff driver, sure wants to make a statement, and he's doing it right now. 2nd place on the track. But he made a statement earlier today when he walked up to his race car wearing gargoyles, made famous by the Intimidator Dale Earnhardt Sr., and wearing a hat that came from the King, that is signed by the King. Both are authentic. Both are way official. And Junior, I understand those sunglasses came from Dale's sister, Kathy.
Yeah, that's right. Jimmy texted me this week. He said, man, you got any gargoyles? I said, I know who does. Aunt Kathy had a pair that Dad wore. We got them to Jimmy as fast as we could. Looking at the leader right here, chasing down the 96 car. If he puts that 96 car down a lap, which he's going to do right here off turn 4, that means Brad Keselowski will not be in position to get the waiver around.
Yeah. Yep. And so that puts now Daniel Suarez in the position for the free pass and moves Keselowski out of that spot. It's the highest scored non-lead lap car that gets the free pass. When a caution comes out, we know one's coming out in 4 laps. That will be the end of stage 1. Martin Truex Jr. has been up front. Jimmie Johnson running in that 2nd position. Chase Elliott, who had led 80 laps in this stage. And Chase Elliott, by the way, has led more laps this season than he has in his career in a season. So a big year for Chase Elliott, maybe a changing of the guard over there at Hendrick.
I know this is frustrating for Keselowski, but I don't think they have the pace in that car. It just doesn't look like it's running the lap times. Even if they do get this thing back on the lead lap, he's running about 20th place lap times over this run. Going to improve that 2 car in the pits.
So far, the move of the race is right here. Crew chief making the decision to stay out, not put tires on, gain track position. He was running 14th. Now with 2 laps to go in this stage, he is sitting there running 5th, Steve. That is stage points. They were going to get none, and now they're going to get 5th place stage points. That is a huge move early in this race.
Stage points, a set of tires, so much going right for the one of Kurt Busch. Like you mentioned, Matt McCall, huge call on top of the pit box.
Bowman's going to try to take a spot away from him as we're on the final lap of stage 1. Will he have enough time? One more time around, they'll be fighting for those positions. Down the backstretch for the final time for Martin Truex Jr., looking for his 3rd stage win of 2020. most importantly for Martin Truex Jr., it will be a playoff point. That means 1 point that could move with him into the next round, because all playoff points will do that. Martin Truex Jr. MTJ gets the green and white checkered flag, and here's that battle between the 1 and 88, and Kurt Busch is going to hang on. 5th place in stage 1.
Nice work. Denny Hamlin almost cleared his teammate off turn 2. Couldn't quite do it. Truex back to the lead. Harvick up to second. Great choice for Harvick, I guess, to give up second place, restart 4th.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see if that happens later in the race for a late race restart. If you take that same opportunity. Denny was really good there. Almost was able to capture that lead, but then only fell back to 3rd.
The other question I have here is Harvick hasn't had that fast of a race car. Some of us thought maybe that he was just taking care of his equipment early in the race, but we haven't seen him up in the top 3. Not really fair with these guys. Looks like he's got pretty decent speed off of the restart.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see, because he's not been in this good a position since they dropped the green flag. So it is interesting to watch. You see how Denny just rolls in on these guys. Y'all talked about it a minute ago, the line he runs sometimes and not appearing to use a lot of brakes, and really carries a lot of speed in and to the center of the corner.
Just watching this, look like Harvick's having a tougher time getting to the center of the corner. His car's kind of walking around both ends, but he's able to get back to the gas and really makes good time on the exit.
Man, this racetrack has a lot of history, and I know you guys have spent a lot of years here racing and coming here as kids. As we get further in this race, I see this 11 car getting better and better, gaining speed, becoming more competitive. And I think what's important to note there also is Denny's willing to accept that information. Some drivers are weird about that. Don't tell me how to drive. You just work on the car, I'll drive it. But Denny is in a position where he knows what he's got. He's caught lightning in a bottle with this crew chief combination. And he's going to take that information and use it, try to win himself a championship.
Yeah, it's great when you can have that much trust in the people that you're working with and around. And I think what you were talking about earlier, that line that Denny likes to take into 1, where he stays higher, well, that doesn't allow him to drive into the corner quite as far, but it does save his tires, and it helps him with a lot of momentum off of turn 2. But the faster way is to drive a straighter line like Martin Truex Jr. does and Kevin Harvick does, where you kind of clip the apron a little bit, you carry more speed, you go straight, and you go up to the wall, and then you can drive it how you want on the exit there. So we'll see if that's something that Denny does in this final stage.
And you see that 21 car, Matt DiBenedetto, going a lap down to Truex as Hamlin has gone around him as well. So Matt DiBenedetto, the first car. Now Michael McDowell, there you see him. He is now a lap down. So DiBenedetto will not get the free pass when this caution comes out with 7 laps to go in this stage 2. One of our playoff contenders struggling. Just has not had the speed that he was hoping for, I know, but he's got a great couple of racetracks coming up, especially Bristol.
Yeah, he's looking forward to these short tracks coming up. But this is that place that, man, when you're off a little bit, it's just magnified, and it's hard to make lap times.
But and this is I will say this. In a round where there's only 3 races, though, even though he's a little off here, you can't afford to give up a single race. You can't afford in the playoffs to give up a single race. And he is struggling right now. Parker, what do you got on him right now?
Well, Kyle, the interesting thing is this is probably the best the car has been all night. He came on the radio about 10 laps ago and said, I need a lot more whenever we obviously it hasn't helped enough. And they're obviously going to lap down here. They're going to need a lot more, whatever was done on that last stop to get him back in more comfortable in that Toyota car.
You can see how uncomfortable it is off of turn 4. Had him a handful. Jimmy Johnson climbing back into this. I thought they'd lost a little bit on that 48 car, but he's got good long run speed. Chases down Kevin Harvick for 3rd.
Well, they talked about his car being a little loose. If there's one man that can drive, I said I couldn't drive a loose car around here, but if there's one man that can, it's Jimmy Johnson, doing a really good job here tonight with that.
And he's right up next to the wall where you talk about Harvick not ready to challenge the wall yet. Jimmy has moved up there and has been up there most of the night challenging the wall.
Close in on the end of stage 2. Truex growing his lead over Denny Hamlin. Here's that 19 car. Throw back to Hank Parker Jr. Hank Parker Jr. called me and says, "Is that real?" Really throwing it back to me? Yeah, buddy. Some good days back then with Hank Jr. in the sport.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, man.
He was a character.
Yeah, there was a good group. You were in the part of that group. That was just a good group of young drivers at that point in time.
You see Truex lead, 131 laps. Coming to 2 to go. This is important for this team because of the playoff points. You don't have quite as many as Denny and Harvick, so to be able to gain a couple tonight in these stages has been pretty helpful to their championship hopes going forward.
You know, when you watch Truex, and obviously he's running out front, he's what, almost 5 seconds ahead. It's like he never puts a wheel wrong. You see that car, it looks stable, it floats off in the corner, he picks up the gas. We even hear Denny, when Denny drives, pick it up nice and slow. He's not stabbing the steering, he's not jerky. He's really smooth, but you watch Truex right here, and it's like that car's on rails.
Yeah, now Truex Jr. is putting the pressure squarely on his pit crew to get the job done tonight. No mistakes. He can't make any mistakes either. We see Alex Bowman taking this spot away from Jimmy Johnson for the 4th spot.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a little bit of team orders there. We saw Jimmy almost challenging the 4 car for 3rd, but
every point could matter.
Yeah. Hey,
I didn't know I was with a bunch of conspiracy theories guys up here. I mean, it's one position and it's team orders, and oh my goodness, that's the way it goes. But it is. Every point matters in this game right now.
Stage 1 on PJ, come on.
Truex winning stage 2 here at Darlington. Denny Hamlin, Harvick, Bowman, Johnson, Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, Austin Dillon running in 8th place, having a great run tonight. Clint Boyer, Kurt Busch going to take 10th. All those guys gaining some valuable points.
And getting ready for the start of the final stage.
Big stack up on the inside line. That's the restart for a lot of guys. It looks like there's some trouble on the car back here. The 32.
Yeah, Spoken got into the back of somebody there.
Yeah, knocked the radiator out of that car. Or LaJoie.
So LaJoie looks like he's going to have to maybe limp it around and see if he can get it to pit road.
Alex Bowman hanging pretty tight on that inside lane. Seen this outside lane prevail on most of these restarts. Alex doing a nice job hanging in there.
And that inside seems to hang there for a couple corners. Off of turn 4, running that inside line on new tires. Just you can't carry the speed down the straightaway.
Now Truex has lost his track position. He had the lead. Now his car is going to drive completely different behind another car. Did they make the adjustments that they needed to make? That's one disadvantage in leading the race. You don't have that look at running behind good cars and not having that clean air. Now Martin Truex Jr. is having to deal with it.
And guys, once again, this really has become the story of 2020. Look at the 2 guys that are up here running in the top 3. Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick. They've won the most races, 6 and 7 in between the 2 of them. And we've wondered who is going to step up and challenge these 2 to be a part of the championship for in this, the first race of the playoffs.
Yeah, I think, you know, looking at Truex right here, I don't know if I was sure about how much losing Cole Pearn was going to hurt this team or change this team, change the identity. Tonight, you know, it doesn't look like it's bothered it at all, but you know, they just haven't been the team that we usually, see out of Truex over the last couple of years. Denny and Harvick have gotten all the playoff points and stage points. But tonight, that 19 car looked pretty good.
Well, you haven't seen the wins from that 19 car, but he has 8 straight finishes of 4th or better. So he's been putting himself in position to get the wins. He just hasn't been able to execute.
But tonight is the most he's led in a race all year. So I know he's not leading now, and he's going to have to figure out a way to get around his teammate who has an equally strong car. But I think this is his best performance. Have they been saving? Have they been, they had something in their pocket, something on the shelf?
We caught a glimpse. Yeah, we saw a glimpse there of James Small, who stepped in for Cole Pearn after he surprised, I think, the NASCAR world with an early retirement. But so James Small now running the team. Martin Truex Jr. as the playoff starts, running very well. As a matter of fact, won the first 2 stages. And right now running in that 2nd spot, but he's chasing after one of the fastest cars on the racetrack in Denny Hamlin. And Hamlin on lap 237. So guys, that just happened a couple laps ago. Denny Hamlin runs the 3rd fastest lap that has been run tonight.
As we get later and later in this race, it's cool, and it's going to cool down a little bit more. We might see that speed even increase even more. Truex putting the pressure on, kind of running his teammate down. A little damage on the back of this 22 car. Somebody has gotten in the back of this 22. I think that was part of that restart issue. We saw with all those cars fanning out to the inside, somebody hitting that 22 car.
How about it, Steve? What kind of damage is that in regard to the speed of the car?
Well, the spoiler and deck lid's still attacked. The left rear quarter panel being shorter is okay. I'm not sure I've ever had one in the wind tunnel quite like this. It'd be hard to say exactly what happens. My bet would be on the 32. We saw the radiator knocked out of LaJoy and the rear bumper knocked out of the 22. Those are probably matched up pretty good, I bet, Jeff.
And worried about that deck lid, how disconnected it is. So let's go back and look on this restart. See, way back here in the back, Logano laying back, and they all check up, and he gets checked up, but Corey LaJoy cannot hit him really hard.
Fits like a glove. One smashed in nose, one smashed in rear bumper.
And that's the hits just keep coming. Logano hasn't had a great race up to that point, and now obviously with the damage to the back, that will affect maybe the pit stop a little bit when they go to change those left side tires.
Rick, I think that's a great point. His lap times are pretty good, but that left rear quarter panel is almost covering the tire. It's going to be very difficult to push it off. And as we've been looking at the 22 of Logano, here comes the 19 of Truex. Patient behind Hamlin.
Yeah, the 11 almost in the fence. Caution's out.
And caution, this one's going into the wall. The 38 of John Hunter Nemechek, the young man from Mooresville. You saw the sparks flying before he got into the wall, but a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage.
Yeah, Joe's son. He was running 20th.
Matt DiBenedetto may be the free pass right here. Maybe the first car lap down.
And did you hear that? The young man just said 100% my fault.
Yeah, it must have not been clear or something.
He's not the first at Darlington to wreck one.
No, not a good night for John Hunter, but John Hunter's had a really good year, representing himself well. And sure enough, we are hearing that Matty D is the free pass. So a bad break for John Hunter, a good break for Matty D.
Final stage underway. The first race of the playoffs.
Kyle Busch on that bottom lane. Going to clear Denny Hamlin right there. Going to jump up in front of him. Now taking a look at Truex, trying to drive underneath him.
For the
Strong
lead.
move.
Here he comes. Kyle Busch to the inside. Martin Truex Jr. on the outside. Momentum carries him past.
Now he's wanting to hear clear. Take that outside lane. Make Hamlin cross you over. Hamlin's going to have the bottom. Little side draft, trying to slow him down. Now trying to stay even with him on corner entry. Beat him through the middle. Nice job by Kyle Busch, and a nice job by his pit crew tonight. They've given him 6 spots tonight on pit road.
right now, the top 4, the final 4, or the championship 4 from a year ago. Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick.
The big difference from a year ago, though, Rick, Truex, Hamlin, and Harvick all with wins. Kyle Busch still looking for that first win, the defending champion.
See Brad Keselowski working around the outside of Austin Dillon. Brad trying to get himself back up into the top 10 here. Austin Dillon having a great night. A lot of speed in that 3 car. Right out there in front of the 88.
Look at the run he had on Keselowski there. Almost had to check up where he would have got into the rear quarter panel.
Alex Bowman back here in the pack here lost a lot of spots on that pit stop, so to work his way back through the field. And he's in good position. That's the thing, man. You can't have those kind of mistakes late in these races. Take you out of a decent top 10 finish. What happened to Keselowski happened early. They were able to work on their car and try to rebound and get themselves back in position, drive back to the field.
Much the same situation for the 41, Cole Custer, the rookie, right in front of Brad Keselowski. Caught speeding on pit road earlier, went all the way to the back, and I'll be honest, Rick, just hasn't been in any highlight reels, which is the goal at Darlington, right? Unless you're leading, you want to stay off the highlight reels. You see a little bit of, I don't know if that's damage or tape on the front of the 41, but all the way back up into the 11th position.
That's what you got to do when you have a night where Blaney, DiBenedetto, Logano, guys are having issues. If you don't have the speed or the car that can go up there and contend in the top 10, just get what you can get. Try to keep your driver out of the fence.
And as a rookie, we've said this multiple times this year, but what a horrible year to be a rookie, right? No practice.
No practice.
I mean, no track time whatsoever. You roll out there with all these guys. Look who he's racing around. I mean, all these people have so many more years of experience. That's just something you cannot make up, and that's what you can do with practice that they're not allowed to have right now.
Back in Darlington, South Carolina at the Southern 500, Clint Bowyer, playoff contender on and off of pit road. He had to pit because he had that tire right there coming apart. The right rear tire, you can see, is unwinding right there. And so he had to pit, Marty. Didn't want to pit quite this early. Wanted to pit in about 5 more laps.
And trust me, when Jeremy Bolin saw that, he said, yep, that's enough for me. He brought Brad Keselowski to pit road to make sure they don't have that. They've already worked so hard on this 2-car to recover from their earlier issue tonight. But Keselowski was in the top 10, had rallied back there, pitting here late with 63 to go in the Southern 500.
All right, Rick, how's your stomach feel? You nervous for anybody
I feel
yet?
great.
All
I feel
right.
great.
So the tire came apart on the 14 car in 52 laps. There's 66 laps to go when he left pit road. If you're Martin Truex Jr. right here, you're trying to get to 60 to go, but look how slow he is on the racetrack.
Well, remember, we just saw Martin Truex Jr. sideways, too. I mean, he is tearing apart those rear tires. And again, he slides coming off of turn 4. Martin Truex Jr. stretching things. Again, James Small calling the shots for the 19 team, the crew chief, taking over for Cole Pearn. And it looks like Martin Truex Jr. has his hand full every turn. Dave.
Kurt Busch's crew couldn't wait any longer. Matt McCall pulling the trigger on the 1 car coming to pit road. He'll get 4 fresh Goodyear tires. Again, as Marty pointed out, other crew chiefs are watching this. When they see what we saw coming off of Clint Bowyer's car, they might adjust just by a couple laps, Parker.
On board there, Matt DiBenedetto, who's also coming down pit road. He said the car finally had some grip in it, but by the end of that run, he too was very loose, as we're seeing from all these cars, trying to stretch these tires as far as they can go. This team trying to rally back from what's been a very tough night, an ill-handling car from Matt DiBenedetto and the Wood Brothers 21.
19 cars coming to pit road, fellas.
Race leader Martin Truex Jr. is going to give the lead up. Denny Hamlin now the race leader at Darlington. He's coming towards you, Dave.
Truex onto pit road early in, just past the gap, and he will get 4 fresh Goodyear tires, so needed right now with 60 to go. Remember that scenario I talked about in 2017? I believe it was 69 laps he tried to run at the end of the race, and the tire came apart just before then. So, Marty, this could work out. Fewer laps this time.
His teammate Kyle Busch coming down pit road. Meanwhile, Denny Hamlin stayed on the racetrack. Kyle has been very happy with the handling of the car. He came in second behind his teammate Truex Jr. Going to be 4 fresh Goodyear tires here for Kyle Busch. The crew has been outstanding all night long. Jeff Burton mentioned it a moment ago. They have gained him 6 spots on the track. He leaves pit road while Hamlin goes by one more time, still on the racetrack.
Big issues for the 11, trying to get to pit road. Jeff, he slows down. The 48, impatient here, gets into the back of him.
That gets the 11 going too fast. Now Denny cannot make pit road. He knows he can't make it, has to turn right. And the time lost is huge for Denny Hamlin.
Here we are, riding on board into turn 3, slowing down, trying to get out of everybody's way. Just doesn't have the grip to stay low enough. Marty.
Oh, such a killer for Denny Hamlin. And this has happened to the 11 car here in this race before at Darlington, and this late in the race as well. With 58 to go, this is going to lose them a ton of track position, and nobody will know until this stop is over with. You see a little bit of damage there on the right rear as well from Denny Hamlin. That was from earlier in the race. Hamlin with 4 fresh Goodyear tires. He still says the car has been looser the longer they run. That's been their issue all night long. Look at that water as well, spewing out. They did clean the grill for the 11. Now we'll see where he cycles out and exactly how much track position he did lose as Kevin Harvick flashes by.
Coming up on 41 laps to go in the Southern 500 from Darlington Raceway. Outside, Chase Elliott inside. Martin Truex Jr. And right away, Austin Dillon moves up to the top of the racetrack, going through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think Martin Truex Jr. on that bottom. The best that bottom's been able to do is about 4th place. He's going to try to squeeze right in that hole right there in front of Austin Dillon, and he does it. Goes back to the inside of this 4 car. Harvick for the exit of turn 4. Trying to side draft a little bit. He's trying to get a little side draft. He has it.
It's going to be tight getting into turn 1. Harvick getting out of the gas. Gives it to him.
Sure did.
I wonder if Harvick isn't saving a little tire here. Kevin Harvick at the end of every run has been really slow. I wonder if Harvick is just going to save some tire to try to be faster at the end of this run.
Look at this 22 car. He put all that damage on the left rear quarter panel driving up in here. When I saw that damage initially, Steve, I thought that maybe that left rear quarter deck lid was moved up slightly.
Well, up would be better, and if you shorten that left rear quarter panel, it actually helps evacuate the air. You see how much bumper cover smashed up, also evacuating the air, so I don't think that's bad for aerodynamics. It could actually be making a little more rear downforce.
Yeah, I can tell you what, you wouldn't put the rear bumper back on it if it fell off. I can promise you that.
It would make it a lot faster. It did fall off.
I don't think we can mention enough the run that Austin Dillon has put together tonight here at Darlington. Currently running in the top 5. He's got that 4th spot in that vintage throwback number 3.
What's most impressive too is that when this race started, they had to come from the back and he wasn't going anywhere. Even Steve was asking, you know, what's wrong with the 3 car? They had a very, very tight race car at the start of the race, and it made a lot of great adjustments and brought speed to this car. I don't think a lot of people have this team moving forward into the next round, but with finishes like this, it's going to be an automatic move.
And Junior, I agree with you there, and that team agrees with you. They think this is one of their best shots in the playoffs ever. But behind him, in 6th place, is Erik Jones, that 20 car. He's the only non-playoff driver in the top 15 right now. And in talking to Chris Gale, the crew chief there, he said, look, Erik doesn't know what he's doing next year. Basically, he doesn't have a job. I don't know what I'm doing next year, and there's a lot of crew guys on this team that do not know what they're doing next year. This is probably the most motivated team in the garage area to go up there and prove that we deserve jobs and that we can win races. And I think Erik Jones is showing right now that this is a team that maybe belongs in the playoffs.
I didn't think that that would happen for him tonight. You know, when a team knows that the driver's leaving at the end of the year, a lot of times that performance falls off. They start looking ahead to the next season. The program starts looking forward. He's come out here tonight to try to be able to do his thing and We just don't know where he's going to end up next year.
Well, and sometimes in this situation, this is a 4-car team. Only 3 of them are in the playoffs. You look at that 4th car and think, well, how can this car help out the other 3 that are in the playoffs? But right now, it looks like Erik Jones is thinking, we need to figure out how to help me, Erik Jones, because I still am looking for a job for next year.
Well, and clearly from that report we just heard, Chris Gale, the crew chief, he doesn't know either, right? So I think that actually makes, in a weird way, that makes the situation better, because now you have a driver, crew chief, and team members all working to make sure that they have a job in this sport next year. And how do you do that? You perform. You perform, you bring it, you show people you can do it. That's how you get opportunity.
And right on the back bumper now.
One with that speed to the mid there.
So Truex will have to run somewhere else here, down in this corner. You can't follow the 9. Just look how much time he loses. See the car, he just doesn't have any grip. No grip through that corner and loses all that ground that he gained in 3 and 4. It's not that his car's not better in 1 and 2. It's just like you guys said, there's so much throttle down there that the 9 car just drives away. Look at the 19 on the high side. Got some great momentum here. Chase to the bottom. It's an interesting choice.
Can't believe Chase Gale did that. Slowed down that much. Truex will get a run on him. Going to try the inside into 1.
Huge run by the 19. Martin Truex Jr. fighting for the lead.
In the
Both
wall.
of them into the wall.
Clear. Easy.
Both of them into the wall.
That's hard damage. Both of those guys hit really hard. How far back is Harvick?
5 seconds.
3rd place is way back
I was
there.
thinking how much air was in those right side tires. You were worried about Harvick. I'm not sure if they could continue. Truex knew that was his moment, guys. He threw it in there. Whether it stuck or not, that was his shot.
Those cars are destroyed.
Chase Elliott came on the radio, said you are not clear, and then an expletive. So he was not happy with Martin Truex Jr.
Of course he isn't. Martin went in there, committed.
Hey, Martin's out front, and Chase Elliott's running second. And right now, Kevin Harvick's 4.2 seconds back. This is the move. This was the setup.
Right front, I think.
Chase Elliott goes to the bottom of the racetrack. Not sure why he did that. The top was working great for him. Martin saw that. He goes to the top. That allows him a huge run down the front straightaway. Chase tries to block. Martin ultimately says, this is my spot, drives in underneath him.
Yeah, Martin committed on the entry here. They go up the racetrack. They connect right there. Sends both cars into the fence. Really hard right front contact for both cars.
Right rear tire may be going down on Martin Truex Jr.'s car now. He just radioed it in.
And Dave, maybe a right front for Chase Elliott. He radioed that in a moment ago, so he thinks he might have a right front going down. A lot of drama here at the end of the Southern 500.
Here comes Martin, the 19, on the pit road now. They think they have an issue. Dave.
When he passed Chase Elliott, he said, I thought I had him. He didn't quite have him, and now it looks like that's just going to cost him the race here. We'll see if Elliott can stay on track, but Harvick has already gotten by him.
You can see the right rear tire that came off flat. Probably just right sides here. I don't know why you would change lefts at this point unless they think they need him to keep back up. My concern right now is where's the 9 of Chase Elliott? I think Harvick is taking the lead. The 9 is back to 3rd. Heavy damage on both cars.
Harvick's up front. Austin Dillon has moved up into the 2nd spot now. Chase Elliott continues to fall back. Logano up to 3rd.
Could Austin Dillon run Kevin Harvick down?
This race is not over. We've said it multiple times. Kevin Harvick has struggled at the end of these runs. Logano is only 1.3 seconds back. Austin Dillon a half a second back. If you're Austin Dillon, push as hard as you can. Try to drive that 4 car and hurt those tires.
Under 11 laps to go. Coming up on 10 to go from Darlington.
Rick, remember the race we saw yesterday?
Yes.
The guy in 3rd won that race. Well, is that going to be Joey Logano or Jones? Will we see another bit of contact between the front 2? If Dillon can get there, how much will he push the issue? I would say a win has got to be more valuable to Austin Dillon than to Kevin Harvick. I would hate to have to defend, if I was Harvick, an aggressive Austin Dillon.
We saw Kevin Harvick off at turn 4 that last lap. He was sideways. Kevin's car is not driving well. Austin Dillon to the top.
Again, Chase Elliott with the damage to the right side. His pace definitely falling off, and that's how the lead went to Kevin Harvick. But now the battle is on. Harvick trying to stay in front of the 3 of Austin Dillon. Under 9 laps to go.
Both these drivers using the apron quite a bit down there in turn 2. Not using the entire racetrack all the way up to the wall in 1 and 2. both to the bottom of the racetrack down here. Austin has been running against the wall all the way down on the apron, all 4 tires for that 3 car in second.
You know where Kevin Harvick's going to run. He's done it all night long. He's run right on the bottom of the racetrack in 1 and 2.
So we heard Dale Jarrett tell us in that second stage that Harvick would know when it's time to go to the top. So Jeff, is it time yet? Is he ever going to come off the bottom?
I'm not sure that Kevin thinks it's faster up there.
He's got lap traffic that he's dealing with now too, so he has to come up on that lap traffic and figure out where he's going to pass them.
Yeah, the lap traffic is going to play a big role in dictating where you run, where you choose to run in turns 3 and 4, turns 1 and 2.
2 cars in front of him here. This could slow him down as Austin Dillon trying to close the gap.
Kevin Harvick's got really slow off of turn 4 on the exit that time.
Oh, that lap traffic hurt Austin a little bit right there.
But it's going to hurt Kevin right here.
The gap, a half a second.
Watch Kevin Harvick on the exit of turn 4. The last time through here, he got really slow right in this part of the racetrack. That's where he's weak. That's where Austin Dillon, if he can get close to him, that's where there's an opportunity.
You got to imagine that the crew chief and the team on the radio of that 3 car are pushing that driver, trying to wheel him up to a battle for the lead with this 4 car, Kevin Harvick, coming to 5 laps to go.
Listen to how long he's out of the gas. Running that low line.
Dillon to the top. Austin went to the top in 3 and 4 that time.
I like it, Jeff, right? 5 to go. You're going to have to do anything. He's given the bottom enough. He hasn't been able to catch the 4. No time gain. Move up the racetrack. Here's Harvick a little higher in 1 and 2.
You know, Kevin Harvick's been in this position so many times, you can't think he's going to make a mistake, right? That's just not in him. He's been here too many times, experienced it too many times. So if you're Austin Dillon, you're going to have to find something. Just not enough speed right now.
4 laps to go. What a turn of events. Chase Elliott was out front. Martin Truex Jr. forcing the issue, tries to get by. They both go into the wall, and that allows the 4 of Kevin Harvick to take over the lead. Harvick now being chased down by the 3 of Austin Dillon. If you look at 4 drivers, a part of the top 16, these 16 playoff drivers, you'd say which one of these potentially could be falling out after the first round. You'd point your finger at Austin Dillon and say he's got to be one that you have to look at as to fighting your way into the next round. Well, right now he's fighting hard, running second to Kevin Harvick.
He's doing all he can. You can see he's changed lanes. He's run the top, run the middle, run the bottom of 1 and 2. Now back to the bottom in 3 and 4.
Coming up on 2 laps to go. The gap has been anywhere from a half a second to a second. It's closed up a bit there. 7/10 of a second now. Dillon pushing it for all he's worth. They're coming up on lap traffic again.
Let's see where this lap traffic goes. You know where Harvick's going to go. He's going to go to the bottom. That's Matty D in front. He is not going to be an easy pass.
6/10 of a second. 5/10 of a second. 1 lap to go.
1 more. Hit your mark.
Brendan Poole up there in front of those guys in that 15 car.
Crew Chief Rodney Childers said we have to prove ourselves. He wants to concentrate more on calling the races. Well, when you win 7 races on the bottom of the racetrack, Kevin Harvick trying to hold up Austin Dillon. The last charge by Dillon. He comes up a 4. Harvick's still going to win. Harvick wins the Southern 500.
What a fight! Way to fight! Heck yeah! I don't even know how we did that. Great job!
Well, the first thing I want to say is welcome back, fans.
Woo!
This interview is a hell of a lot more fun with you guys up there. I just want to say thank you to everybody from NASCAR, all of you fans here in South Carolina. Got to thank Busch Beer, Mobil 1, Hunt Brothers Pizza, Jimmy John's, our Ford Mustang, everybody at Stewart-Haas Racing. just wound up fighting all night long. This Busch Beer Ford Mustang wasn't where we wanted it to be, but leaders got tangled up there, and next thing you know, we were racing for the win.
Kevin, you've talked about how you guys playoff race every week. No different coming into the playoffs this time, but to win a race like this, the Southern 500, to kick off the playoffs, how significant for the 14?
Well, anytime you can win the Southern 500 is a good day. You know, this is one of the most prestigious races in our sport, and this is one of the most prestigious racetracks in our sport. So anytime you can win at Darlington, it's a big deal. But man, Southern 500, woo!
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.